Welcome, students! I am absolutely thrilled to be guiding you through this explainer today on mastering remote viewing. Whether you're entirely new to the gateway process or you're just here to refine your skills, this explainer is designed to prepare you for a truly incredible journey beyond your physical senses. We are going to break down the exact protocols developed by the military and refined right here at the Monroe Institute so you know exactly how to execute a successful session. So let's just dive right in. Here is our roadmap for today. We're going to start with a quick welcome in history, move into the science of hemisync, break down the 5 core behaviors, look at troubleshooting your sessions, and then we'll wrap up with some best practices for training. Starting right off with Section 1, welcome to remote viewing, history, and origins. Before we get into the how, it's crucial to understand the where these tools actually came from. Because, remote viewing wasn't just pulled out of thin air. Back in 1972, physicists Harold Puthoff and Russell Targ started rigorously testing these very protocols at the Stanford Research Institute with pioneers like Ingo Swann. And by 1978, this research evolved into highly classified U.S. military and CIA intelligence programs. You've probably heard of the most famous one, Project Stargate. Then, in 1995, after the program was finally declassified, the techniques were brought to the public and refined into the highly accessible modern protocols we use today at the Monroe Institute. So what you're learning today is a skill that was trusted for decades by military intelligence. Moving right along to Section 2, the science of hemisync, hemispheric sync. Let's look at the actual biophysical science that makes this kind of perception possible in the first place. Our absolute primary technological tool here is hemisync. Short for hemispheric synchronization, it's essentially an auditory technology that uses binaural beats. It sends slightly different audio frequencies into each ear, which literally prompts your brain to create a third internal beat frequency. This process safely and effectively shifts your consciousness into what we call focus 10. That's a deeply relaxed, hypnagogic state where your mind is fully awake, but your body is completely asleep. It essentially bypasses your physical senses so you can start accessing non-local information. Okay, I absolutely love this next analogy. It actually comes straight out of a declassified 1983 CIA report on our gateway process written by Lieutenant Colonel Wayne McDonald. It so perfectly illustrates how ordinary waking consciousness scatters energy like a lamp. It's chaotic, it's diffused, and it's scattered over a wide area with practically no depth. But when you introduce hemisync, your mind is instantly focused into a powerful, disciplined laser. Your brainwaves become completely coherent, allowing you to synchronize with the subtle, rarefied energy of the universe. And according to those exact same declassified CIA documents, when your conscious frequency is accelerated to a staggering 10 to the power of 33 centimeters per second, it actually crosses a fundamental threshold. At this exact point, consciousness can transcend space-time itself. You are quite literally no longer bound by linear time or physical location, which is exactly what allows you to perceive new dimensions and gather data from incredibly distant targets. Which brings us to Section 3, the 5 core behaviors. Practical application. Now that we've got the underlying science down, let's talk about the exact behaviors you need to be doing during your session. For this, we lean heavily on the methodology of Geo McMoneagle. He's a legendary veteran intelligence viewer, literally remote viewer 001 for the Army. He established these 5 core behaviors, which give us this highly digestible, actionable cognitive map for your mind to follow. First up is relaxing, which is just achieving deep physical and mental stillness. Second is connecting, intentionally directing your mental focus toward the target. Third is listening, maintaining this passive internal awareness while completely ignoring your analytical inner dialogue. Fourth, becoming aware, just noticing those sudden fragmented sensory impressions that pop into your mind. And fifth is reporting, documenting those exact impressions purely, without ever trying to interpret what they mean. Now, as part of your Gateway Wave 3 training, you're going to be introduced to the Energy Bar Tool, or the EBT. Think of this as your primary mental mechanism. It's a glowing, focused point of intention that you actively create in your mind's eye while you're in Focus 10. You're going to use this Energy Bar Tool to essentially reach out and establish contact with distant people, places, or coordinates. It's basically your energetic probe for gathering all that distant sensory data. All right, moving into Section 4, troubleshooting your sessions, overcoming hurdles. Every single student faces challenges, so let's normalize the struggle here and talk about what to do when things just don't go perfectly. Take a look at this quote from a real student over on the Gateway Tapes subreddit. If you have ever felt absolutely exhausted trying to visualize the energy bar tool, or felt totally overwhelmed trying to keep up with the guided voice prompts, please know that you are absolutely not alone. So many students find that dropping the guided tracks temporarily and just doing a silent, free-flow hemisync session is a total game changer. It lets you play with the EBT at your own pace, changing its shape and just getting comfortable without the pressure of keeping up with the audio track. Now, the most common and frankly the most frustrating trap for beginners is analytical overlay, or AOL. This happens when your logical left brain completely overrides the raw, intuitive, psychic signals you're getting and replaces them with imagination, memory, or prior knowledge. Your logical left brain is essentially a massive know-it-all. It absolutely hates incomplete data, so it aggressively tries to guess what you are seeing and just starts fabricating a story. Here is a super relatable, real-world example from another student. What's really fascinating about this specific experience is that their initial intuitive signal, the fact that their friend was inside a moving vehicle, was completely accurate. But almost immediately, the left brain stepped in. The student knew her friend often talked to her dad on speakerphone while driving, so her brain just copy-pasted that memory right over the psychic signal. That is analytical overlay in action. The imagination just totally ruined the rest of the actual data. So how do we outsmart our own brains? The absolute key to combating analytical overlay is speed and simplicity. Your main goal is to rapidly write and sketch only the raw, fragmented sensory impressions. Just jot down words like red, metallic, curved, or hot. And you have to do this immediately, before your left brain even has the chance to name the object or fabricate a logical interpretation. If your brain screams, it's a fire engine, write down AOL, fire engine, just to clear it from your mind, and then go right back to rapidly describing those raw shapes and temperatures. And that leads us to our final section, Section 5, Best Practices for Training, Training Guidelines. Let's cover the strict session hygiene you need to give yourself the highest probability of success as you continue your training. As you get more advanced, you'll actually learn that a professional session is a team effort. It's divided into 3 distinct roles to maintain incredibly strict double-blind conditions. You have the viewer, who acts as the perceiver and illustrator. Then there's the monitor, who sits with the viewer, provides the target coordinates, and keeps the viewer on track. But importantly, the monitor doesn't know what the target is either. Finally, the judge is the only person who evaluates the accuracy of the session against the real target data, and they only do this after the session is totally complete. This rigid structure guarantees that the viewer remains completely uninfluenced by front-loading or accidental hints. But whether you are working with a whole team or just doing some solo target practice, adhering to these physical and environmental best practices is absolutely crucial. Always maintain double-blind conditions so you can't guess the target. Make sure you use high-quality over-ear wired stereo headphones. This ensures those binaural beats are delivered perfectly without any Bluetooth compression muddying the signal. Definitely avoid consciousness-altering substances like caffeine and alcohol right before a session. And get this, research from SRI showed you should even avoid doing sessions during high geomagnetic disturbances because the Earth's magnetic fields can actually interfere with your psychic signals. Isn't that wild? And finally, just maintain consistent sleep hygiene so you actually have the mental energy to hold that delicate focus 10 state. Managing these variables means you suppress cognitive noise and set yourself up for absolute success. We've covered the science, the history, the hurdles, and the techniques. You now have the roadmap. So as you prepare for your next time under the headphones, I want you to ask yourself this question. If your consciousness can truly transcend time and space, where will you go in your next session? Your limitless potential is quite literally just waiting to be explored. Keep practicing, trust the protocols, and I will see you in the next explainer.